Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with the political commentator Adam Bolton and the journalist and broadcaster Daisy McAndrew. Let's see what is on some of those front pages. The deaths of two of Anthony Joshua's close friends in a car crash, which left the boxer injured, is the main story for The Sun. That's also the lead in The Star, which says the heavyweight boxer miraculously survived the horror car crash. The Mail leads on the continuing backlash against the Prime Minister's comments welcoming Egyptian activist Alaa Abdel Fattah to the UK. That story is also on the front page of The Express, who say that the PM refuses to deport him. The Guardian carries the results of a survey suggesting a growing number of people believe that in order for someone to embody British values, they must have been born in Britain. The Financial Times reports that the growth of non-US stock markets over the past year has been greater than their American counterparts, apparently because of global hesitancy over the Trump administration's fiscal policies. The Eye's front page features a New Year's honours list, which is dominated by the Lionesses, who it calls the pride of England. And we are joined tonight by Adam Bolton and Daisy McAndrew. Great to see you both. Well, let's start with the honours list, that front page in The Eye. We had that report a little bit earlier. Daisy, let me start with you. What have you made of some of the names?
I think it's lovely that so many female sports people have been nominated for honours because, of course, we're very used in this country to seeing lots and lots of male sports celebrities and stars getting this. And they're Downing Street very keen to point out that this honours list is 50% female, which, again, is an achievement. So I think it's lovely. And I think that, as your reporter was saying, the Serena Wiegmann thing, she's getting an honorary damehood, I think is lovely. And she's made this lovely statement about how welcoming she's found the UK and how delighted she's been. So I think that's
and they did
good.
win something. I mean, it's important to point out.
Well, exactly.
As they always seem to win.
This is like the Euros, isn't it?
And the Red Roses also, the rugby players getting lots of nominations. So no, I think it's lovely in many ways. And Idris Elba, there's so many of these. Torval and Dean. I mean, Torval and Dean, 40 years after their main event, they have been made.
And they've gone up, haven't they? They were MBE, then OBE, and now Night and Day.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's plenty, I think, to celebrate. And Keir Starmer's made a big statement saying celebrating so many volunteers and so many people that do stuff that's not celebrated normally, that's unsung work.
Speaking of which, your sister.
Speaking of which, yes, we've got private celebrations in the family. So my sister's has got an award in the honours list as well. So that's very exciting.
Congratulations.
Very exciting for her, yeah.
Very interesting as well about Idris Elba getting it for all the charity work that he does, because he does so much against knife crime as well.
Yeah, he didn't get it for his adverts for Sky television. No.
You never know.
Yeah, he does do charity work, and this is very often the case that, I mean, I have to admit, I'm one of those people that the whole honours system thing leaves me cold, but it seems to me it's public recognition of people who've already achieved a lot of things in their own careers. Idris Elba, very successful actor, everyone will remember him as Stringer Bell in The Wire, but he has used that celebrity for charity work, particularly with underprivileged young boys, looking after them. So, fair's fair.
And I think the other thing to say is that I agree with you. Sometimes people's awards stick in your throat, and very often, years later, sometimes retrospectively, you think, why on earth did that person get it? But there is something about people getting an award which, if they have done it for a good cause, actually gives them more power to create either, whether that's fundraising or promoting a particular cause. So I think sometimes there is a sort of virtual circle.
It also seems that in show business, and to a certain extent in sport, there's a kind of pecking order, isn't there? I mean, we know that David Beckham, for example, was desperate to get a knighthood, to get recognition, and therefore it's good that the female sportsmen, the rugby players and the footballers have been given these honours.
I also like the fact there's not one, but there are 4 people who've got awards who are over 100 in this.
It's never too late. There you go.
It's never too late, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to another story. Front page of The Guardian. Very interesting, this one. And I think a good one to come at the end of the year when we think of, how much we've talked in the past year about Britishness and immigration. So this survey, 1 in 3 believe Britishness is dependent on being born in the UK. And there's a lot of differences here. There's born in the UK or ethnicity, birthplace, ancestry, or whether it's shared values. What's the survey about, Adam?
Well, it's interesting because at one level, it's really confirming British public opinion believes in the obvious, but it's quite clear coming from The Guardian that they've got a bit of an axe to grind, sort of implying that, Britishness is a bad idea. But, in many senses, being British from birth, of whatever ethnicity you come from, is something that is different from coming here as an adult and adopting nationality. I mean, the argument that's going on about the man who was got out of Egypt, shows that some people don't really regard him as being properly British because presumably he got his citizenship in adulthood. But I mean, what this also underlines, and The Guardian's political point is here that the further you move from the left to the right in the British political spectrum, the more likely you are to think that Britishness insists on being born here, or indeed being white rather than belonging to an ethnic minority. And they've got the statistics showing that the people who feel strongest about that are supporters of reform. Again, not really a great surprise.
But I agree with you that I think it's the story, the headline is bigger than the story in itself. This has obviously been, it's a poll which The Guardian is saying that they've got exclusively. I also wonder, and their big point they're saying is that the number of people who say you have to be born here to be properly British has gone up significantly. Yeah. It's still only 36%, which I know is, but it's not the majority. And also I do wonder, given that the support for reform has absolutely skyrocketed, and a lot of people who might have had these opinions didn't feel able to say them some years ago. There is now, and in some ways I think everybody should be allowed to say whatever it is they're feeling and not be worried that they're going to be cancelled because they hold certain views. Obviously not extreme views, but whether it's concerns about immigration or concerns about Britishness, I do wonder whether The Guardian's making a bit of
well, it's obviously making a bit of a point here because it's actually put a box about the activist row in the middle of the story on the top of the page.
Exactly.
Because there's the whole issue about his citizenship that he only got in 2021. I mean, interesting story. Do you think that now, I mean, you mentioned that some people feel awkward about talking about these issues, but you think that now perhaps that's changed?
I definitely think it's changed, particularly immigration was never that big a deal. I mean, it was for a certain number of people, but now immigration is such a big issue for the majority of Brits. And I think that does mean that it's an area that people feel more comfortable talking about. And there are more people now saying, just because you're concerned about immigration doesn't mean you're racist. And that is actually something that people didn't tend to say 10, 15 years ago. And I think that's quite healthy.
But equally, you've got to be aware that, on the American right, on the MAGA right, we've got people talking, well, the Trump administration's national security statement talking about cultural erasure in Europe, and we've got Trump and Elon Musk going on about the number of people who weren't born in Britain who live in London, for example. So it is a hot topic.
Yeah, and they've been picking fights with Sadiq Khan and all sorts. So, they like to point over here and say they're even worse than us.
Which they're not, actually. Statistically, they're higher level of immigration into the United States than there is into this country.
Let's go to another story. We'll just look at the front page of the Daily Star, but it's a story that we've been leading here here on Sky News. That's Anthony Joshua, who is in a stable condition, but was in a horrific car crash in Nigeria. Daisy.
I mean, the photograph of what's left of the car is truly horrific. I mean, as many people have said, it's amazing that anybody survived that crash. And as we've heard, two close...
And a Lexus SUV, so not a small car.
It's not a small car. And as we've been hearing, two close friends and team members of Anthony Joshua's both died, and they've asked for to give him privacy and so on. The photo of him sort of screaming in pain as he's pulled out, he does then walk unaided away from the crash.
He's apparently unconscious initially.
And then was pulled
about
out.
20 minutes.
Yeah. But totally horrific crash. And of course, you wonder, there will be injuries. I mean, there will be physical injuries to get over, but there are going to be very bad mental injuries as well for having been in that crash.
I mean, what appears to have happened is that this car went into the back of a parked lorry on a major highway in Nigeria, and one side of the car, as it were, glancing below, both the person in the passenger seat and the person behind were killed, but Joshua was on the other side of the car, as were his other companions.
And the driver survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the authorities there do say that preliminary investigation suggests the vehicle was travelling beyond the legally prescribed speed limit, is what...
I mean, you would assume that they were going at some speed, but...
Yeah. So, but Anthony Joshua himself does seem to be in a stable condition. Adam, Daisy, stay with us. Coming up, we'll look at the ongoing controversy that we mentioned in passing over a British Egyptian activist's right to remain in the UK. Stay with us.
The news never stops.
And neither will the podcast.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? This is The War Game.
Here's what's happening.
What you need to know in 10 minutes.
We want to discover, to find out what's really going on.
Everything you need to know about British politics in about 20 minutes.
Welcome to the world.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
We're going to be with you next year through all of it.
So, where next?
Available wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Stuart Ramsey, and I'm Sky's chief correspondent.
An enormous explosion has just come down. I think it was a monster's just landed in between us.
Hundreds and hundreds of people hoping to get north, ultimately to get to the United States.
It's a border where they're not welcome, yet they keep coming.
We saw snatch squads going in, grabbing people, taking them out and putting them into trucks, but taking them away.
They make about 50 kilos of fentanyl a week. It's incredibly dangerous and toxic stuff.
There's been an upsurge in deaths. The fighting between the gangs is getting more and more vicious.
Is this now all your territory?
Yeah. The battlefield is outside the barricades, which is over there. This is much more like a normal town. It's really sending a clear message that Venezuela is eager for change. We've been crushed. Free from wherever you get your news. We are in the middle of a forest, in a jungle really, and they're attempting to keep these men alive. This is real, hardcore emergency medicine. The information on this could bring down the entire network, not just in Iraq and Syria, but across the world. Sky News, the full story first. Hundreds of thousands of people have been using the beast for years to traverse Mexico, but it is really dangerous. Many people have died riding it.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live. I'm live in Jerusalem.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
Historic day here today.
Congratulations, this is a huge moment.
But what happens now?
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
They call him the king of the jungle.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Yusra Al-Baghir has this report.
And this is what's left of it.
As a woman of colour, how did the Harris campaign speak to you?
People risk their lives to speak to us for this report.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me in the studio, Adam Bolton and Daisy McAndrew. Let's go straight to the Express in a story that is in other papers and has been rumbling for a couple of days, and that is the British-Egyptian activist Alaa Abd El Fattah, and of course the incendiary comments he had made on social media years ago. And the headline here, Furious Starmer refuses to deport Egyptian extremists, as they call him, because Keir Starmer, Adam, has said he will not be deported.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very complex story. Basically speaking, cross-party politicians, including Liz Truss when she was Foreign Secretary, and prominent members of the Labour Party, wanted to get this man, Alaa Abd El Fattah, out of Egypt, where he was clearly basically a political prisoner, wrongly imprisoned. He had British nationality. His mother, you may remember, campaigned with hunger strikes. He had dual nationality since 2021, British nationality and Egyptian nationality, and he was released in Egypt and finally came to Britain on Boxing Day. Now, at that point, what has been decided particularly by Conservative and Reform politicians, is that they have been informed of tweets which he did or comments he made on social media
around 2010,
more than a decade ago, which were anti-Semitic and vile and criticising the police, and they're now turning around and basically blaming Keir Starmer because he hailed the release of this man back to this country, said he was delighted by it. They're blaming Keir Starmer for it. They're saying this man should have his nationality taken away because of what he said in the past, and he should be kicked out. And indeed, the Shadow Home Secretary has called him a scumbag. This is clearly embarrassing the government, although the legal advice is there are no grounds on the basis of old tweets to either revoke his citizenship or kick him out. And now, in a sign of bending to the criticism, the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has announced that there will be an internal inquiry. This will look into why the information about this man's tweets was not put on the record at the time in the past. As far as I can tell, it is not reopening the question of revoking his citizenship or kicking him out.
No. And also, we all know what happens when these reviews take place, that it's just a way of trying to kill the story. I think most people would be horrified that somebody with these views, who was openly calling, denied the Holocaust and said that British people were dogs and monkeys, should be allowed to stay here. But as Adam said, legally speaking, it's almost impossible to get rid of him. And certainly Egypt aren't going to be taking him back with open arms anytime soon. And it is interesting, Yvette Cooper pretty much throwing civil servants under the bus, as politicians so often do, saying, I take this very seriously, but we need to know, why the civil service didn't alert us to all these old tweets. And there is something a bit dodge about the idea of old tweets. We all know when we go to America now, we're told, they're going to look through all your social media as far as ICE and so on are concerned. And it does have that pretty authoritarian sting about it.
Very briefly, do you both think it will keep on rumbling on in the new year as well, or do you think it's one of those December stories?
I think it depends what happens elsewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly.
To be honest, but I do think, I have to say, there is something that we have seen really consistently since the Keir Starmer government came into power, that there is a concerted effort, particularly by the Mail, the Telegraph and the Express, to use any event they can to attack personally ministers in the government.
Yeah. Let's rattle through some other stories now. Front page of the Daily Telegraph. This is Donald Trump, who had met Zelensky yesterday and has been on the phone with Vladimir Putin both before and after, about the Putin claim that his house was attacked by Ukraine. And again, Donald Trump seems to believe Vladimir Putin ahead of others in general.
Yes, I mean, I find this hard to believe, given that there doesn't seem to be any evidence that this attack happened. And you would have thought, if that really had happened, there would be plenty of evidence. It's not as if this, his residence isn't going to be
quite
big and well monitored.
Yes,
and they're going to be very, very careful with his security. So Zelensky has been saying it's another round of lies intended to derail negotiations, which could well be the case.
I mean, the Ukrainians are saying they didn't do it and it's black propaganda. But I mean, I have to say, bearing in mind that the Russians are attacking civilian targets in Ukraine on a daily basis, including hospitals and schools and killing civilians. I can't see any reason particularly why Putin's houses should be excluded from council.
And we know perfectly well that Putin has tried to kill Zelensky on multiple occasions.
Although, of course, Trump sees all this in personal terms as who he likes at the top of Ukraine and his friendship with Putin. So it clearly is something designed to get a reaction from Trump, which, according to Telegraph,
and we know Trump is desperate to get some sort of deal. He wants that Nobel Prize, and he wants his deals to come together. And anything that looks like it's upsetting the potential of a deal.
I mean, unlike the Russians, the Ukrainians insist that they only attack strategic targets or military targets. They don't attack civilians.
Yeah. But also, crucially, Trump just didn't seem to believe Zelensky and seemed to believe more what Donald Trump was telling him on the phone. Final story in the Financial Times about cheating on exams. With AI, which is now getting so sophisticated that people can't really spot it anymore, and so they're changing the whole way that the chartered certified accountants actually grade sit their exams.
So I hadn't realised, I think Adam did know this, that they have moved, during the pandemic, they moved their exams online and then hadn't bothered to move them back, as the kids would say, IRL. And now with ChatGPT and all the other AI models, people were just putting the questions into ChatGPT, getting up the perfect answers and passing those exams in that way. And of course, accountants, you tend to think that they are, goody two-shoes type companies, but they have been getting into a lot of trouble themselves recently. I think that PwC, KPMG and Deloitte fined millions of dollars recently for a series of cheating scandals. So they're changing all that.
Adam, we've run out of time, so we'll have to get your opinion on the story in the 11:30. Thank you both for now. Let's take a quick look at the weather. It's looking fairly settled into the new year and brighter than recently, but it will turn colder and windier in January with blustery sleet and snow showers near exposed coasts. The UK and north of Ireland will have quite a bright, frosty start tomorrow with some freezing fog in the north. The bulk of Ireland, meanwhile, looks dull and generally frost-free. The morning will bring sunny spells to most, but expect some showers near southern and eastern coasts and more general light rain in the far north. There'll be a distinctly chilly breeze in the south. The afternoon will bring little change, but clear skies and light winds in the north and west will bring an early frost. Coming up next on Sky News at 11, gold medal winning ice skaters Torvill and Dean, actor Idris Elba, and England Lionesses coach Serena Wiegman are among those recognised in the New Year's honours list.